Testing. Yeah. Hello, can you guys hear me okay? Oh yeah, there we go. Hi everyone, welcome back. So we're gonna just about get started here for our first session. So very important note here, the all important, your code for your first session to check in is on the screen right now. So 0KU37, so you can take a second, go into feed loop, look for the first session and then input that code and then you'll be off. We'll leave that on here for a couple of minutes as well. So while I do that, let me introduce to you our very, very first speaker. I am so thrilled to have Sarah Johnson here from, and this session is sponsored by RBC Insurance. And so, and Nathan and Lorenzo, I think are in the room. They're right at the back there. And so they've given me a note to say, hey, make sure to ask them what makes their PAR account the most aggressive in the industry. So look for them during a break and check out what their products have to offer. And let me introduce a bit about Sarah. So Sarah is going to have a fantastic presentation here. So instead of, in lieu of reading her bio, which I think all of this, you have a program in front of you and you can read her bio. I'm excited about her presentation. She's going to be talking about digital assets, blockchain, and estate planning, especially when clients' assets these days span beyond borders, span beyond physical assets. How do you even help them figure out how to do estate planning with these assets? She's going to tell you all about that. One thing that we're going to do with our speakers this year is, because we're pretty close to Halloween, who here enjoys dressing up as Halloween? Oh, one person. Okay, 4% out of all this room. Well, we asked our speakers what is their favorite costume that they've worn. And so throughout the day, we're going to be sharing with you what they said. So Sarah dressed up as Pirates of the Caribbean, and so I think she even sent us a picture. So we didn't get her permission to post a picture, so I'm not going to do that, but you can ask to see the picture. It's pretty good. So someone who dresses up as Pirate of the Caribbean, that this tells us that she loves a mental sparring session with someone who can challenge her, enjoys playing devil's advocate, partly because it gives her the opportunities to showcase her quick wit, and partly because it helps her to clarify her thoughts. She's naturally curious and has a knack for coming up with completely new ways of doing things. I don't know. We'll see if she says, if that resonates with her. Would you give us a big hand and help us welcome Sarah to the stage here?
Great introduction. Can you just hear me? I normally have a really bombastic word. Oh, yeah, now you can. So thank you so much for the introduction. Thank you for the invite to present this morning at the summit. I'm really happy to be here. I hope you guys had your espresso, because this is going to be quite a journey. Please, feel free to ask me any question you want at the end. If we're going to have time for question, I hope we do. This is why I normally walk around. I'm a very, I'm Italian, so I like to use my hands and walk around, but because of the timing, I'm gonna have to stick to my notes. So you're not gonna see me going up and down, which is also safer. Couple of things, why are we talking about digital assets today? Well, our clients not only have issues with their emails, the Avion points, or their photos in the iCloud. Those times are long gone. We're probably going to have conversation with our clients about crypto assets, NFTs. I'm still recovering from 2021 on the NFT craze. And also maybe on the poems that they've written with their ChatGPT, or problems with their likeness and their voice recording. being used by AI well after they're gone. So this is a very important topic, and I'm hoping that by the end of it, not only you're going to be excited about it, but you're going to embrace it in your day-to-day practice. And I'm going to give you some idea maybe on how you can use insurance to protect against, unwanted tax consequences. So without further ado, let's get going. All right, so this is our agenda. We're gonna look at the universe of digital assets, and we're gonna situate some of these assets. We're gonna look at blockchain. I'm gonna give you, the 5 minutes how to be brilliant in blockchain. We're gonna look at NFTs. We're gonna look at actual real cases in which NFTs and other application of blockchain are actually used today, not in the future. We're going to look at estate planning. We're going to look at power of attorneys. We're going to look at tax, probate, and also we're going to end very quickly on some jurisdictional and legislative updates. Now, this is going to be feeling at times like you're climbing Mount Everest. So as you know, the whole goal about going to Mount Everest is not to reach the top, it's to come back home base alive. And that's what I'm going to try to do for you today. So anytime you're talking to an attorney, I have to have a disclaimer. Anything that I'm going to tell you today cannot be considered legal advice. There is not going to be an attorney-client relationship established with any one of you today. And I'm not endorsing any type of technology that I'm going to explain to you today. This is pure educational. If you do need legal advice, I can definitely, refer you to some great crypto and techie lawyers in your relevant jurisdiction. So with that, we can finally get started. So we have to start from the definition of things because, that's how it goes. But before getting there, I am a scientist. So I like to give people an idea of why this is important. So did you know that approximately 34 million of Canadians reported using online banking? And this is like 2021, so right in the middle of the pandemic. As of late, online banking has become the most common way of people of doing banking. 29 million Canadians use Facebook. 57% are female. 47% are male. The highest users as age-wise is 35 to 44 years old. And the biggest number of users are in Ontario, of course, Quebec, and BC. 29 million Canadians uses email as their only way for communicating with others. 28 million Canadians uses online shopping, and online shopping in the last couple of years has increased tremendously up to $84.4 billion. 26 million Canadians use digital photography, and most of digital photography, your phones, are the only way that they take pictures now. As regards crypto, and I'm going to tell you why I have some reservation about this, but the Ontario Securities Commission last year did a study and found out that about 5 million Canadians actually own crypto. I can tell you that if you do own crypto, you probably will not tell anyone that you own crypto for security reasons, and still there is a little bit of a stigma around crypto. This is why it's really important to create some trusted relationship with your clients so that you can actually, get them to tell you. But the interesting statistics here is that only 50% of the people that own crypto could accurately define crypto and know how it works. To the point that 80% didn't know not only how crypto in general works and what technology blockchain is, but also didn't know anything about the law or the taxes regarding what they own, which is, to me, that talks about an opportunity for educating our clients. About 500,000 Canadians seems to own NFTs, and the latest information is about 100 million, a little over, 100,000 people have been using ChatGPT just in the first few months after it was released in November last year. So now that we know that this is something that we cannot ignore, let's define it. What is a digital asset? Well, both the Canadian Model Code for fiduciaries and the revised Model Code in the United States for fiduciary access to digital assets define a digital asset as anything that is an electronic record. I like to identify 3 different categories of digital assets: hardware, software, and incorporeal. Hardware is anything like your Fitbit, your iWatches, your phone, your computer, your Alexa or your Siri, that actual, the hardware in which, that you need to use for your digital interface. The software, it's anything that has to do with software. So your app, your email, your Facebook account, anything that has to do with your social, your LinkedIn. That is your software, that's your intangible property. Your crypto is incorporeal because to function, it needs a little bit of both. It needs an interface that is hardware. You need a computer, but also you need a software and anything that goes inside the computer. So it's what we call an advanced technology. Very much like your AI and your ChatGPT, you need a machine that is built up with a very sophisticated algorithm. You need both to work. You need the body and you need the brain. So that said that, what's crypto? What is a crypto asset? Well, in order for us to define a crypto, asset, we really need to explore how computer works. So as you probably know, a computer can be either on 1 or off 0. And the way that we people, control computers is by coding them, by finding way to talk to computers. And that language is called computer languages. And computer languages are made of all these zeros and ones and of rules and regulations, which are the algorithm and the advanced math. So if you're asking me, is programming an easy task? No. I don't know if you've ever taken a programming or a coding course back at school. It's a mix of like philosophy, computer science, and a lot of math. Also, computers don't have eyes. Like there is this idea that if you have, a camera on your computer, the computer can all of a sudden see things. Well, no, the computer can transform reality and understand reality when we actually translate reality into strings of zeros and ones. So that brings us to the idea of how do a computer understand and make sense of reality? Well, through tokenization. And do not worry, I see some very worrisome look in your face. There is an app for that, okay? There are 2 types of tokens because there are different types of realities and different types of objects. One are fungible tokens and one are non-fungible. So what's the difference? Well, I gave you an example of a cat. The word cat and the object of a cat is a fungible token. A cat is a cat, like a car is a car. A card is a card. Money are fungible, right? Also, I can dissect a car in one cat in many different pieces, as much as I can break down a Bitcoin in sub-Satoshi, in different, portion and fractionalization. Well, that's a fungible token, right? A non-fungible token is a token, so string of numbers. So every time you hear the word token, please think of a string of numbers between zeros and ones. A non-fungible token is a token that is representing a unique asset. So my cat Milo, I can tell you, ain't fungible. It is mine, and it can either be mine or yours. And unless there's a relationship between the 2 of us, which is not the case, we cannot own the cat together. I can own the cat, my cat Milo, or you can own my cat Milo in the case with your cat Milo. That's a non-fungible token. It's expressed in a different mathematical way, and it's a different token than any other cat token. If you understand this, you understand half of the problem. You're halfway there. So please remember that. Keep that in the back of your mind. So now that we know that to talk with computers, we need a code. And we know that computer works with numbers and mathematics. And we know that computers understand and process reality through tokenization, through the translation of things into numeric symbols. we can tackle digital ledger. So a ledger, we go back to the Egyptian, was just a financial book. You know, at one time there was a pharaoh that sent out, you know, his scribes around the villages with tablets, and they were just counting, you know, how many grains each village was giving up for taxes, right? Well, taxation. So on these tablets, you know, every time the pharaoh was getting one sack of grain, there would be +1 for the pharaoh, -1 for the village. Those are financial accounting over transaction between people. Translate that into the blockchain. In 1991, Scott Sternetta invented a way of taking care and do accounting over digital transactions, over token transactions. So in this case, the blockchain is nothing else like a token, you know, that moves in between sides of one ledger. And it just happens that the ledger is a digital ledger. That's what a blockchain is. So now you're asking me, so what's the big deal about it? Well, the big deal is that the blockchain itself, so the recording of this is immutable. Once you have recorded that exchange of digital assets, it will stay there forever. It's also permissionless. As long as you have a computer, you can get into the system, you can start moving assets back and forth digitally. So let's look at the Bitcoin blockchain. This happened, the nascent blockchain, I said, was invented in 1991. So what's the big deal with Satoshi Nakamoto, or who seems to be Satoshi Nakamoto? What happened in 2008? What is the difference between Satoshi Nakamoto Bitcoin blockchain and the, you know, general blockchain? Well, Satoshi Nakamoto created what is being thought to be a rail for payments. So he's resolved with his blockchain and his protocol. So a protocol is the rules of engagement regarding a digital asset. So Satoshi Nakamoto with this protocol created and resolved 3 problems. One is the problem of digital scarcity. You can copy a digital number, a string of number, really easy, controlled copy, right? So how do you make that asset, that digital asset, unique? Well, you do it through cryptography. In fact, the word crypto asset means exactly that, means assets that are based on cryptography. And cryptography is really the matching between a private key and a public key. So I'm going to give you the explanation of that. What is a private key and a public key? Okay, you all use Starbucks. You get into your Starbucks, and what you see a wall, a beautiful wall of cards that you can buy so that you can gift coffee money to people. So what do you see at the back of the card beside the beautiful engraving? Well, there is a very public series of number. Well, that's a public key. Anyone can see that, and you can give that to anyone. However, how do you put money into it? And how do you manage your account? How do you collect your stars? Well, you have to come up with what? A password. Your password is your private key. If you understand that, you understand cryptography. The second thing that Satoshi Nakamoto did in his payment rail was to eliminate what's called the Byzantine dilemma, which is created every time you have weak link of weak intermediaries between parties. Well, he just gave away with it, and he substituted with a computer and a very sophisticated algorithm. So it became really so-called anti-fragile and permissionless. The third problem they resolved was, how do you get people to use this bloody technology? How do you get them to actually go onto the system and start buying and selling Bitcoin? Well, through Bitcoins. So in 2008, during the financial meltdown, there was a parallel, beside the financial meltdown, there was a parallel really great economics studies called behavioral economics. And behavioral economics tells us that we do things when we are incentivized. You know, I love my job, but I can tell you, knowing that I'm going to get paid for it, it's great. It's better than not. right? So Satoshi Nakamoto invented a way to incentivize user to get onto his chain. And it was by creating Bitcoin, which are the rewards for using and for mining things within the blockchain, which in this case is to upload information on the chain itself. So you have to wait until 2015 for the next big breakthrough by Vitalik Buterin, which came out with, I would say, a payment rail on steroids. Because the Ethereum blockchain not only is a payment rail, so a blockchain that allows token to be moved and to rewards to be collected in ETH in this way, in this case, but it also created a possibility for applications. And these applications are called smart contracts, which, by the way, are non-fungible token because smart contracts actually deploy on unique assets. So if I had to give you an idea of all of this and how you can remember it, think of a blockchain as a never-ending circulating train. It's a train and it's a payment rail. Every minute or so, there are compartments being added to the train. Once the compartments are added, they are chain linked together. That's a blockchain. Once the compartment is added, you cannot disengage it. It stays there forever. Now, think of the NFTs or the fungible token, the luggage that gets put into the train. So you cannot move the compartment, but you can move the luggage inside the different compartments. So you can move NFTs between accounts and it will keep stories. It will keep a story of where this luggage has been as it travels through the payment rail. So what types of blockchain assets are out there? Well, let's look at it in the two categories of fungible token and non-fungible token. So you probably heard over and over about DeFi. You know, what is DeFi? Well, it's decentralized financial services. And why is decentralized? Well, because it's based on blockchain technology. Remember, blockchain technology is just you and I interacting through a computer without intermediary, right? So why do all these cryptocurrencies? Like 2022 was the year of the great crypto, meltdown or the crypto winter. But what went wrong? Well, there are different types of fungible tokens. There are your famous Bitcoin on the Bitcoin blockchain, which, by the way, uses a proof of work set of rules and engagement, which is really, intensive from an energy perspective. Then you have your Ethereum. Those are kind of your blue chips. Ethereum in September 2022 has migrated from a proof of work to a proof of stake, which is 2,400 times more energy efficient than the Bitcoin blockchain, which is something, right? But the blocks are a little bit smaller. You only have about, 15 record, you have about 5 to 8 sets of data in each block instead of 15 to 20 in the Bitcoin blockchain. But then you have all the other ones. So I'm gonna give you an idea of what the differences are between all these different coins. So regular Bitcoin and Ethereum, we talked about. What are Dogecoin? Have you ever heard of Dogecoin? Dogecoin is a meme coin. It came out as a spook over Bitcoin. And it really had no value until Mr. So-and-so at X Twitter, whatever, he killed the Twitter. The person that killed Twitter decided that, Dogecoin was going to the moon. And he tweeted out that, and all of a sudden, Dogecoin had value out of nowhere, right? Interesting. Does he have value today? Well, I'll tell you, if you were a millionaire on Dogecoin, you will know if you're still a millionaire today, because you're probably checking it out every minute of your life. Then you have things like world coins or stable coins or CBDC. So what are those? So OpenAI came out with something that is called the world coin. So WorldCoin actually works on an Ethereum base, but it has a different type of verification system. And it's a verification system that use what? Your retina. So that's how they verify transaction. By verifying the people that are making the transaction through their eyesight. That's interesting. It's terrifying. Stable coins like your Luna that, went down last year, or your Tether, are coins that are related to an actual fiat or a commodity. So you might have a stable coin that is related to the US dollar, Tether, 1-to-1 to US dollar, or apples and oranges, or gold, or so on and so forth. Then you have your CBDC. So what are those? Well, central bank digital currency. It's a digital currency. It works on a blockchain, but it's a private blockchain owned by what? A central bank. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, they do exist already. China has one. Surprise, surprise. It's called the RMB, and Russia has one, the ruble digital currency, and many other, less sophisticated countries, but those two I will watch. Now, the thing about CBDC is that the government could just say, well, we're going to take that out, and they can just strike it, and in 30 seconds, push a button and go nuclear on your digital coin. Now, what are non-fungible tokens then? The best thing that I can explain a fungible token with, it's a smart contract. So please do me a favor. Every time you hear the word smart contract, substitute the word smart with self-executing and the word contract with program. A smart contract is a self-executing program. Is it a contract in the way that you and I consider a contract, like a legal agreement? Well, no, right? A legal agreement is the meeting of the minds, an offer, an acceptance, an offer that has not been revoked, and an acceptance coming together. Is that a smart contract in the way that I explain it to you? No. So a smart contract to survive, to exist, must have an agreement underneath it, but it's just an agreement executor. Think of it as the tool that makes sure that when people have agreed and they do have a contract between them, automatically that contract comes into life through technology. That's exactly what it is. So the best invention that I could find to explain that was to use a vending machine. What happens in a vending machine? Well, a vending machine is a machine. You put in $1 and boom, comes out the sandwich. Well, maybe $3. And then boom, comes out the sandwich. That's an NFT. It automatically executes something that you already decide to do. So in practical terms, that's an NFT. Maybe they have a legal process. You have a digital work. Will now give you a certain fantastic, right? This is, ladies and gentlemen, a two-way system.
Sarah, sorry, the virtual attendees might not hear you.
Sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry. So the price of the art may fluctuate, but the beauty of the technology will always be there. And I will show you why that's important. Smart contracts are used for executing real estate contracts. You can use crypto or you can use fiat. You want to execute a contract? Well, when people have the money, when they made the deposit, when they, decided that all the different conditions have been satisfied, boom, the contract is completed. We're using NFTs for that. Not only that, the DMV in California is using NFTs to keep track of what? Your driving records. This is happening today, and it will happen more and more. What would be beautiful? In my world, I deal with a lot of art, would be to have NFTs to actually deal with title recording of art and have a blockchain just for that, so that we can keep track of artwork that, well, they may be fake, or they may be stolen, or they may be, lost. Wouldn't that be interesting? Wouldn't that be important to have registry, title registry? They are there forever. Yes, it would. Another example of NFT or NFT 2.0 are the examples that are used by the fashion industry today. So Tiffany came out with this beautiful pendant. If you like crypto and if you like jewelry, you might like the beautiful pendant. They created about 250. And if you owned a CryptoPunk, you could actually get your Tiffany pendant minted for you. That's a real asset, but it comes with what? A digital certificate. The same thing for your Gucci bag. Now you have authenticity on your Gucci bag. You know it's a real Gucci. It's not being, it's not a Gucci somewhere else. The same thing for your Nike shoes, right? Your Nike shoe comes with a registration and a certificate that establishes authenticity and provenance. But not only that, you might receive invitation to really cool bubble parties in Miami, maybe on a boat. There could be great events like such as this. And now you have, a living way of companies to reach out to clients and add utility. Other things, soul-bound tokens or SBTs. That's different than an NFT, right? Yes, a soul-bound token is a token that gives you a record of ownership that cannot be alienated. You cannot trade this. You cannot get rid of it. You cannot sell it to anybody. Now, when would this become important? Well, do you remember a certain George Santos in the United States who's been elected? And it just came out just the day after he was elected that every single entry, and every single thing he has said during his campaign was false. To the point that we are not even sure if he graduated elementary school. He's there, but I don't know. Wouldn't that be nice to have that? We would have just been able to scan his entry and see what degrees he got, from where, what affiliation he would have had, with whom, even his DNA, to see if we can track it back to any Jewish ancestry. These are really important tokens, and there are universities that are already establishing certificates and degrees. So for your client, if you now have a client that has a degree and he has it in a sold token, what do you do? How can you advise them? That's interesting, right? And we'll get there. Other example, DAOs, you've probably heard it. Decentralized autonomous organization. Think of DAOs as your joint ventures. Actually, CRA and the IRS consider these general partnerships of people getting together. But instead of getting together into a room or emailing each other, they get together through what? A Discord account and a blockchain. So what you get is a token, and you get as many tokens as much money you're putting into your DAO, like a percentage like you would have in any partnership. So the more you put into the DAO, the more power you get back for voting in the DAO system. But the difference with the DAO is that instead of us trying to decide, the rules are pre-decided in the code, in the protocol, and the DAO is self-executing. So if you and I decide to get together with a couple of other people to buy the American Constitution, and we put money into it, the DAO automatically will go bid for us in the auction until either it gets it or it doesn't, depending if it's running out of money because, we were cheap and we didn't put enough in it. There are many different types of DAOs for many different types of things. Metaverse. So if Web 1 was the computer that you could ask information from, so, Wikipedia. You could ask and do searches in the computer. Web 2 is the web of the social. Not only you can ask information and look for things, but the computer will bring back and you can comment. Is the two interface. I can talk to the computer, I can like your picture, I can criticize your services, I can put all sorts of information, and it's a two-way street. That's Web 2. I can even go into your website and buy some goods. So what the heck is Web 3? What's the big hype of Web 3? Well, Web 3 is your website that now has the ability for people to buy things with their crypto wallet. That's all that it is. If you want your business to be a Web3 business, it means that you're adding into your website a portal that will accept cryptocurrencies as payments. Now you know more than all the things that I've been reading about Web3, because there is a lot of information out there that it's either wrong or not correct. So what about the metaverse? Do you need blockchain to have a metaverse, a piece of land? No. A metaverse is a 3D world inside the computer. That's what the metaverse is. Your kids know the metaverse better than I do. Fortnite is a metaverse. Minecraft is a metaverse. Meta Facebook world is a metaverse. Sandbox is a metaverse. Those are all 3D worlds created synthetically and virtually. That's a metaverse. And there are now many metaverses. There is not one specific place that can run it. Why? Because there is just not enough GPU, ladies and gentlemen. Have you tried to go to the Snoop Dogg party on the metaverse? There were so many people on that it crashed, and then they recorded it so that you had the impression that you were there live, but in reality, it was all done. So there is a long way to go to allow people to be in the metaverse, because there is a lot of technological advancement that needs to happen, but it's kind of there. We're getting there. Now, in the metaverse, you can be there as yourself, or you can be there through your what? Avatars. Do you own your avatar? And what is an avatar? Well, an avatar is a pixelated, digital assets of yourself. You could be an octopus, you could be a unicorn, you could be yourself. You could be a digitalized version of yourself. All of these things are digital presence of you. And guess what? Your avatar has your name or the name that you created for it, but that's your asset. That's an actual intangible asset that you own and that you are responsible for. Because once it's out there and it's created digitally, it will always be there. So be careful. Is there planning to be doing on your avatar? Absolutely. Why? Because your body and yourself will eventually die. Don't let me start talking about, cryogenics. I do not understand cryogenic, the people that wants to live forever, because what? They're gonna be 90 when they get frozen, then they're gonna get up in 2094, and what? They're still 90. They're gonna be physically barely walking out of their coffin, right? So, but still, you're not gonna be there. In the avatar world, you are gone. That's your digital presence extra to yourself. Lots of planning to do that. ChatGPT, we gotta talk about artificial intelligence before we're talking about planning. Why? Because it's the latest thing. Artificial intelligence, and I'm gonna give you some definition that is gonna blow your mind right now. Most of the people that I know that I've been talking to, they absolutely have no clue what artificial intelligence actually is. So let's start from this point. What's intelligence? Well, intelligence is our ability to learn and to retain things so that what? We can resolve problems. We can answer questions. That's what intelligence is. Why do you need to be intelligent? Well, you need a body and you need a mind. Why do you need a body? Because we perceive reality through our senses. And our mind, well, through neurological synapses, we make sense of those sensorial perceptions and we understand reality. So now, what's artificial intelligence? Well, artificial intelligence is a machine, it's a computer that learns through an algorithm. So you have a machine, you have a sophisticated algorithm together that imitate human behavior. Artificial intelligence is a wannabe human computer. This is why it's so fascinating to use ChatGPT. Two things: the speed of the responses to your prompt and the way it talks back to you. We just look at all those numbers. Computers are zeros and ones. You need coding to be able to program a computer. You need tokens to make sense of reality. How refreshing it is that you can just open your ChatGPT and start having a conversation about Shakespearean apple poetry. And he talks back like it's your pal or your girlfriend. That's what artificial intelligence is. And it goes back to the 1950s when Alan Turing came up with this idea and this question that was, will there ever be a human judge that is not going to be able to recognize the difference between a computer and a human being? And that test is coming up in 2029, by the way. So that brings us to estate planning. So what is estate planning? Well, estate planning is risk management. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what we do with our client every day, in and out. Every single meeting that we have with our clients, what are we talking to them about? Risk, the what ifs of life. And what we're trying to do, manage it, optimize it, supercharge it. That's what we're doing. Why? Because we have a job and we care. Ideally, in other way around, right? All of these aspects in estate planning goes into the conversation about the digital asset. I can tell you now, I've proved it up to now, that it's a sine qua non. You cannot not ask your client about the digital asset. And please, stop calling them digital assets. Be very purposeful. Do you have email? When it was the last time you went on your Zoom with your children? Was the last time you bought something from Amazon? When was the last time that you saw somebody in the metaverse? You gotta call those assets for what they are. Otherwise, the clients are not going to understand you. What's a digital asset? Do you even know what a digital asset is? Oh, it's a track record. Oh, well, whoop-de-doo. Call it for what they are. Second thing, ask your clients to make an inventory. I ask you during today to open up your phone and make a list of all the apps that you have. I bet you will be surprised there are over 20. Not only that, make a list of all your hardware, your Fitbit, your iWatch, your iPhone, your Alexa, for you and for your family. What is it missing in that list? The fact that I bet you have not read one terms and condition attached to any of your assets. Not once. You know why? Because it's boring. Because you know what? That terms and condition sheet stands between me and the ability to use my beautiful iPhone 15. So what's going to happen? I agree. But what it really happens when you click I agree is that you create a legal presumption that you have read and understood the terms and conditions. A legal presumption. Good luck defending against it. You click the button. It's a totally legal contract. It's called a click wrap contract. And you're right into it. And this is the problem. When you're clicking into the contract, do you know the rights of the terms and conditions? You know, do you know if you can even sue the company? Or do they have a mandatory dispute resolution, alternate dispute resolution? Do you know where you can sue them? Do you have to fly all the way to California? I bet you do. Not only that, are they going to use your data? Who owns the data that you put on Facebook? Facebook. They own it. And guess what? You give them the right to use it, even after you're passed. Read the terms and conditions. Nowadays, if you start reading all your terms and conditions, it will take you over 200 hours. So full-time job for about 2 months. So as you go, I'm telling you, as you go, start reading them. Not only that, if you are a lawyer or an accountant, your clients will want you to know that. It's part of our fiduciary duty to be able to completely, advise our clients. We need to read those terms and conditions. Not only that, make sure that you use the so-called inactive account management accounts. Those are really important. There are ways for Google, LinkedIn, Amazon to give an access of the assets to either close it down or continue it after you're passed. Now, what you don't need to do and what you actually need to tell your clients is please don't make your 8-year-old kid be the nominee of your Google email. First of all, if he gets an email 3 months after your pass, he probably will delete it. So God knows how we're going to access that. Second of all, because he's a minor, you have to use the phone number of his mother, which creates problem for two-phase verification, and Google doesn't like that. Third, what are you going to do when your 8-year-old has access to your email account and your executor has access to other stuff, like your Avion points that you want to donate, or your house that it needs to be sold? But what if most of the bills and the statements go through your email account? Ladies and gentlemen, elegance in digital asset planning is a must. And we need to educate our client of making sense of those accounts, even the inactive accounts. Digital asset clauses are the most important things to have. As it pertains to crypto assets, well, I tell you, you cannot give your wife or your loved one or your husband your password for your email or the password for the iPhone. That's actually a breach of contract, right? If you would have read that terms and conditions, you would know that. But let's say I just gave you a freebie. There you go. You cannot share your password, right? That's a breach. So how does it work for crypto? If I can't give you back, well, that's the difference. With crypto assets, you absolutely must give access to your heir and to your executor of your private key. So there is a very big difference the way that we treat for estate planning, crypto assets and other digital assets. Because the other digital assets are related to what? Intermediaries. They're related to platform. They're related to service providers that make money on also keeping your stuff safe. So we need to abide to their rules and engagement. Crypto assets, not so much. There are these intermediated, decentralized assets. So we have full sovereignty on those assets. And we must not only secure them by ourselves, but make sure that our loved one have access to them. So very important that you allow your loved one to know where the private keys are and keep them safe. I gave some information about, how you can plan for digital assets. If your digital assets have a lot of financial value, please put them in a second will. You can do that. You can do that here. You can do that in Ontario. Do it. If we're talking about 50 million, 20 million of crypto assets, NFTs, you want to segregate it from the regular assets. And not only that, we want to avoid probate, right? So please do that. If it is a longevity or a legacy conversation that you're having in clients, suggest a trust, suggest over more long-term vision. If you're doing a lot of very exotic and risky maneuvering on your digital assets, crypto assets specifically, like staking, borrowing against it, lending, all those sophisticated, package solution for DeFi, well, you definitely wanted to create an SPV or a holding company and put them all in there, because you don't want to pollute your regular wealth with your crypto wealth. Other things that you should know is that you have to keep this information outside your will. You want to have a letter of wishes on an access digital letter that you leave to your executor with all the details. Why? Because your will is a public document. So you don't want anyone to know that you have crypto. I always tell people that ask me, so did you gamble with that? Do you have some? And I'm like, nope. I don't have anything. I don't want people to come to my door looking for my crypto key. Like, no, thanks. Taxation. In Canada, crypto assets are treated as commodities. So there is capital gains on it, on the exchange. So we buy them with Canadian dollars. We transfer Canadian dollars in Bitcoin. If the Bitcoin goes up and then we transfer it back into fiat, there is double gains, right? On the exchange and on the increase in value. Sometimes crypto asset can be securities. And I'm not going to go in there, but I tell you that open up all sorts of other things about buying securities that are decentralized on a decentralized exchange. Do they have the regular regulation? And they're being vetted by the government, so on and so forth. So be careful. Also, what is the situs? And how do you determine the status of a crypto asset, right? It's something in the ether. I call it incorporeal. Well, we determine the status of the crypto asset determined by where the private key is. So if you have your private key in your vacation home in Phoenix, that becomes a crypto asset in Arizona. Okay. And we might have bigger fish to fry because now we have a US titles asset. If you have it in Hong Kong, well, that's Hong Kong titles. If you have it in the UK, so on and so forth, you get the gist. So very important to geotag your assets and really take, stock of the tax implications. If you are an avid trader of crypto assets, if you're trading every day in and out, well, that may be considered business income by CRA. So we talked about a lot about people dying, wills, having clauses in your wills to protect and give your executor access to your crypto assets. But what about incapacity? I can assure you that is the scariest thing that could ever happen to anyone. They're still alive, but now they can't look after their money or their assets. So this is a real example of things that can go wrong with that. I have my power of attorney for financial and accounting matters. They can sell my house, they can pay my bills, and then I have my best friend that has actually the private key to my crypto. Is there coordination between the two of them? Now remember, crypto assets are bearer security. How do you prove that your friend doesn't actually, that you haven't gifted the crypto to him or her? How do you prove that it's held in trust for you? And let's say you have land in the metaverse or in Sandbox, and the land, can they build stuff in it? Can they go ahead and sell it? Can they go ahead and rent it out? Can they have a party? If you have NFTs, can they meet more NFTs? Can they trade the NFTs? What's going to happen? They hold those keys. At the end of the day, estate planning for crypto is estate planning for the key, because the key is the asset. So it's a really good idea to document all these things into deeds of ownership, deeds of transfers. Make it very clear, do you own the crypto by yourself or joint with your spouse or in trust? Is the transfer a deemed disposition or not? Document. And with that, I have to tell you, there is a lot of stuff going on. There is a lot of legislative things. The thing that I pointed out here is the new Article 12 in the UCC in the United States. Canada is a little bit, slow coming up here. MICA, very important. Please, if you don't read the terms and conditions, read MICA, because eventually, if you have a client that has a business that is doing business in Europe, you want to read MICA, especially if they're going to Web3. It's a comprehensive regulation of blockchain technology. It's cutting edge. They need to know. And then watch out for what's going on in the United States, especially in the artificial intelligence world, especially with copyrights, copyright uses, copyright infringement. That is the world that is continuing to evolve. And maybe next year we're going to talk about that, but I completely ran out of my time. I have to apologize and maybe we have time for one question, maybe, I don't know, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much, Sarah. I think we'll have time. We have maybe a couple of minutes for questions. So if you're in virtual attendee today, you can go ahead and type your question into the chat. I'm sure, I don't know how about any of you, but I'm just feeling a little bit of like, I'm not even asking my clients questions about their digital assets yet. And so this is like just, we're just starting, right, to touch into this. And so does anyone here have any questions for Sarah? We'll take a couple of questions. You can just put up your hand. Yeah, Vince.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Can I'm just going to repeat that question for the people in attendance. That yeah, if you have a question, we have a mic for you as well, so our virtual attendees can hear them. So Vince, the question is, how can you repeat all of that? No, I'm just joking.
I can repeat it.
How?
I heard you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And I can answer and can I repeat the question? So the question is about, okay, now you have all these apps on your phone and on your computers, you die and your family is spending 5 months to try to deal with Google because there is not 1-800 Google. There is nobody that you can talk about. So how the heck do you deal with this digital asset after you pass? Thank you. Great question. This is how you do it. Number one, you can't share your password, right? So you have to have an executor that knows something about digital assets, that knows something about technology. That's number one. Because if you're leaving your 90 or 80-year-old, wife, it becomes a headache, like you said. Second of all, you need to engage with the right professional, ideally a tech lawyer that has been doing this all along and that can help you. Number three, the will needs to have a digital asset clause so that when you send that will to Google or to Apple or to Facebook, they know that the administrator actually has legal access to these assets. Number four, you have to make sure before you die that you go into the inactive account management account, TSN website, go look in the securities or under your profile and see what happens when I die to the app. Is there a switch, an automatic switch that can be, toggled if my executor sends the will? Or do we have to go to court, for example, in Ottawa or wherever it is that, or in this case would be most of the time is in California. You have to make a petition, you have to hire a lawyer in California, you have to make a petition to Apple or to Google, and you have to reseal your will in California to be able to talk to Apple and Google if you didn't do the inactive account manager stuff. Because they gave you the possibility to do it, but it wasn't done. So there is a lot that the consumers can do to prepare for death. But again, we're kind of the advisors, so we need to be able to tell them what to do. Worst case scenario, yes, you need to get counsel and you need to go to the legislation where the relevant legislation to actually get access. The other thing is that because you said it was on a automatic prepayment. If it was on a credit card, you can just cancel the credit card. The problem with that is that when you cancel the credit card, anything that is related to the credit card will also be canceled. So if you had your house insurance that gets paid through that credit card or any other things that gets paid through the credit card, now you created a bigger problem. So really, I am a prophylactic person. I like to do things to avoid issues, and avoiding issues means read the term and condition, do the inactive account management, have a strong will with the right clauses that has all those digital assets list, and help your family through a very comprehensive inventory so that they know what they're getting themselves into, because these things is just getting more and more complicated.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I think, okay, we'll take a very quick question. We have 2 minutes. Yeah, go ahead.
Sarah, I had a question about NFTs and smart contracts being applied to life insurance policy.
Yes. So, thank you.
Yes,
thank you. I was gonna answer the question. So one of the greatest thing about having a life insurance policy is that what I said at the beginning or towards the end, that these assets are capital property. So they actually grow in value, and you might have a deemed disposition at death, right? So what we want to do is, and what I do normally during my meetings, is I assess the present value of the future tax bill on those digital assets. And I start to be conservative because of the ups and downs in this technology. But again, AI was under a crypto or an AI winter in the 1980s, and look at where OpenAI is right now. So valuation can change tremendously, right? So do a ballpark. I normally look at the investments that you put in, and I look at a reasonable rate of return, which is for technology is about 8 to 15%. And then why not create a term insurance or create an insurance policy that will help the family to cover that specific asset future liability.
Yeah.
The problem with that is that if we never talk about it, if we never ask to our clients, do you have or potentially have a capital gain related to your digital assets, we will never be able to sell them anything or sell them solution to a problem. So this is why it's so important to ask them and continue to ask them. Don't just ask them one time. And just because you asked them 3 years ago, and they said no, don't assume anything. And
Yeah.
sometimes they don't own it, but their kids own it. So the educational point is, Mr. Client, if you happen to had G digital assets, this is what I can tell you. There are capital property, there is capital gains at that, and there is a solution, a very easy solution that we can talk about it today.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you. Let's give Sarah a big hand. So just a quick announcement for you guys. We're gonna go to break now, but before you do, I wanted to give you some instructions. We are doing a draw for a prize over the break time. So brought to you by My Family Office, MyFO. So MyFO is a company that revolutionizes investment and estate document management. So they have an advanced, talking about AI, they have an advanced AI to bring a family office service to your fingertips, offering real-time asset tracking, secure document storage, and consolidated management, all on a user-friendly dashboard. So just in time as we're talking about, all the technology here. So MyFO is offering a $100 restaurant gift card plus a $200 gift card to their platform to check out their services. So how do you win this? There's going to be 5 winners. From now on till the end of the break, if you'd like to win, you want to send a message through your app on FeedLoop to John Ritchie, JONRICCI, John Ritchie, with your name, email, and phone number. Name, email, and phone number. He's not going to call you, is he? No, he'll. So you may want to find out more information about their services. So the 5 lucky winners will be drawn at 10 a.m. So between now and the break, we're going to break until 10. So go ahead and feel free to refresh your coffee and all that. If you miss all that, you can come see me. I can give you the instructions, but we'll see you here back at 10. And our next session, you can pick between Chris Geldert on the other room, talking about corporate owned life insurance, and accountant's view on this side. We have Yas Herman, who's here, and she's gonna be talking about insurance from the CPA's point of view. So we don't want to miss that. So enjoy your break and we'll see you soon. You don't have to check out.